Come be with me so quietly, so transparently that all will feel at rest. There is nothing to confess. Come reach with me and feel with watery fingers the smoothly polished plates, the angular surprise, the rough edges of nature's form. Pulling, pushing, leading, following, insisting, forgiving, leaving, Come touch with me everything, and we shall be as water falling over stone, unconcerned with anything but completing our embrace and knowing we are
I'm so excited to be here making music with Christie Conover. And Christie, you and I met first at See You Now.
The inaugural See You Now was kind of the big, most memorable and I would say most impactful. Mm-hmm. I sang your husband's piece, which was The Autumn Orchard, which was really fabulous to get to dig into an absolutely new score, but to communicate with the composer and hear his ideas. And you know, I was so young that you're in that pleasing everybody stage, like, how do you want me to do it? Well, you know, sort of thing. And as you mature as an artist, then you get to explore more ideas. Both Jake Heggie and Gene Scheer have come to See You New Opera Workshop, See You Now, multiple times.
Yeah, and Jake suggested this song for you.
He did. Well, I sang for him once, and after many years of knowing him, and he was like, how have I never known this voice? And
the first stanza, it starts out with, come dance. And I love the way that you color the word dance.
Yes.
Yeah. What were you thinking when you sang that?
Joy.
Yeah.
Absolute joy.
Can I get you to say the word dance in like 3 different ways so we can hear the difference?
Dance. Dance. Dance.
That's great.
And all of them were joy.
Yeah.
You know, pretty happy, but there were shades. They were just shadings that were different. Mm-hmm. And someone might look at that and be like, they all sounded the same. But I think when you put music to it, that's even, it just is amplified.
Yeah, I mean, there's a practice of listening too. Like the more we listen for those differences, the more we can actually hear.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Cool. Yeah, it was such a fun opening. And yeah, let's go to the second stanza, which is kind of different.
Well, you had a wonderful word. You had initiated that conversation with like, I feel that it's invisible. And why would you choose invisible?
Well, so I was thinking, quiet, transparent. It feels like you're receding into the air, not being a solid, more being some sort of an energy floating.
I love that.
Yeah. So then, pianistically, I think what I tried to do instead of making it what's the word, inaudible, is to have more breath.
Yeah.
Yeah, more air.
More air.
More airy.
And I think we came up with the word like ooey gooey.
Which is really fun. And ooey gooey specifically about the not showing the pulse.
Yes.
Yeah, taking the time out
Yes.
of the picture.
Bringing in a lot more legato through the vocal line, because yes, you can be legato with a piano, percussive instrument, but you can really do it with a voice and make that, that feeling of ooey gooey elongation.
Yeah, and that's, something that I really got out of my days playing in Doris Crass's vocal studio, is how flexible that the pulse can be. So for singers, when you're thinking about words, the downbeat is like this area. So for pianists, we usually are more of the percussive mentality of like you're striking the key, right? When are you going to strike it? Is it with a metronome? Whereas singers like to feel things out. And then when we come together, we bring both those sets of options into each other.
I think the other factor in the voice, and when you're singing with words. So what does words contain? Consonants. They contain consonant clusters, and then they contain vowels.
Yeah.
So if you're being very exact, you want the vowel on the downbeat or whatever pulse beat that is, which means that you put all of the other consonant stuff before it. So that's why there's like this area of striking, is where's the consonant go, where's the vowel go, where does everything go within this space.
Right.
And sometimes, yes, you can play with it for sure.
Yeah. And then we played around with where the ending consonant goes.
Yes.
Sometimes before the rest, sometimes on the rest. There's a lot of options and decisions that you had to make.
Yes, and us together, because I love what at the last stanza, even almost the last phrase, it's an exchange. So you really wanted me to pass off the consonant to your downbeat on your first note, and just kind of handing it off to each other. And that's how we do it with the consonants, with the notes, the percussive action of it, and that's really neat too.
We should try that just to demonstrate we are not alone. How we pass that forward.
Yeah.
We are not
different passes in the
Yeah.
space of one phrase, one gesture.
Yeah,
so
it's so neat.
Yeah,
And that's what it means to be collaborative musicians, is that it's the art is us working together to bring it into life and making all those intricate decisions.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's go back to stanza 3, which is really fun. The B section.
Yes, the bridge. It's actually the longest stanza out of all of it. And it is set so differently. It's in a completely different time signature. It has a different pulse beat. And I loved that you had said, here are chimes, or they're like bells.
Yeah, my right hand here. Yeah. So we get to be animated, where everything else is all about different shades of piano. This is also quiet. It's mezzo piano, so we have a little room. It's fun with the words because I mean, the poet set him up, leaving, returning, and then we go back to section A.
So Gene Scheer is also a composer and a singer himself. I mean, he had a career. He sang up at Central City Opera, and so he really gets the entire process of what a song should be. So when he starts from the very beginning of writing words, he knows this can happen, let's set him up, let's set Jake up for a lot of success.
And then stanza 4, Come Touch With Me. This is the most like sensory rich stanza, right?
For sure.
So I think of this as fudgy in terms of like, I can have more muscle engagement now.
Oh yeah.
And you have some really cool words.
Yes. They're all words that kind of bring about an intimacy. So you're touching everything. And this is where that, the namesake, and we shall be as water falling over stone. You know, Waterstone is the title of it, but we finally get it in the last stanza. Unconcerned with anything but completing our embrace. That intimacy, that warmth sort of comes from that, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, there was a favorite word of mine, angular surprise. This is in the animated section. I love the way that you just make us recognize angular. Can you say that for us?
Angular. The angular surprise. And I think it's the rhythm is so different from everything. The smoothly polished planes, you just have to make it so contrasting. Smoothly polished planes, the angular surprise.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's the contrast
So
that really makes it pop.
One of the things I really loved empowering students with when I was here at the University of Colorado was that when you are working with other people and having to explain your point of view, it makes you actually have to have a clear vision of what is your artistic vision.
And articulate it.
And be able to talk about it and justify, why are you doing it this way?
Yeah.
Right.
Makes you a better musician all around.
Yeah, exactly. And then, of course, the listening, leading with listening, the mental practice of it, of looking at the score and trying to figure out how ideally would it sound in the room.
Mm-hmm. Interestingly, I've started an exercise of visualization. And they do this in sports all the time. Like, this is not a new concept in sports. Like, you visualize how your body feels and what it looks like putting a basket and how does the basketball go in the hoop, that sort of thing. But as musicians, we can really harness that same power to visualize looking at a score or just sitting back when you know a piece well enough in and out to go through every part to want to how you want it to be. What ideally it's going to be with. How is it going to sound? How does your body feel? How does it sound in the room? How does it blossom? And that, I think, is a really powerful exercise because it does manifest into your body and into your playing and your music.
It's really cool that you're talking about the visualizing isn't just about the sound. It's connecting, it's making that connection with your embodiment of it.
With sensation.
Right.
Yeah.
So then are you thinking about things like, oh, where's my palate? Or like, what shape is my mouth? What are you actually thinking?
I guess when I do it, I do over so many times, repetition of like, okay, now what does it feel like here? What does it feel like here? And you can, that does happen. Like, oh, I've got to think of height in the palette, I guess, but in that space, and where does the resonance really ring? I think about placement where there's a lot of height and a lot of area for the sound to do this. This is like a really common visual for vocalists is that for some reason the spin helps kind of take the foundation where the sound begins, but then the space that it resonates through kind of spins and creates all of those overtones. So I don't get too technical about it. You know, I took physics of music as an undergrad, and I'm like, oh yeah, and then you can like track your overtones this way. But it's more about how does it feel in the body, and what is it sounding out in the space.
We're both mothers.
Yes.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
What has that done for your listening, your sense of listening?
Listening is an interesting practice, and I guess the communication part of it, because when you're communicating with a child who just has new words and a very limited vocabulary, not only are you trying to understand what they're saying and infer, like, what is it that, you know, what are you pointing to, you know? It brings that skill level up, but also you want to teach them. So then I catch myself trying to be articulate and trying to use different words and different adjectives and explaining what they mean, and that's pretty amazing as a mom.
Yeah. There's something I heard in an interview once that kids, when they try something, they put their entire body into it, like everything they've got, or like even you see a baby eating, and they're like just waiting for that food.
And the body comes forward, and then you know all the fingers start, and it's a mess.
And that's what we do as performers, all right?
Yeah,
we're putting our entire selves out here, like also the playfulness of it, right? Like to be able to do something in multiple ways and play around with it and get out of the idea that we have to be perfect. Because like kids really don't care.
And there is no perfection in parenting. That's something else I've learned as a mother, is to just like let it go, because what can you do? It's not going to be perfect, says my perfectionist self, and you let a lot more things go. And artistically, you're like, that's what it is right now.
Yeah.
Be happy with it.